Phil, CRE leaders, corporate real estate leaders, are under enormous pressure. We see a lot of ink spilt around that as well, to consider, cost rationalizations in their portfolios. And a lot of the conversations we're hearing in the market are that, some are advocating for, aggressive downsizing to achieve those cost reduction, goals set by their CFOs and CEOs, while others are hesitating and pausing, fearing that, by cutting back on that portfolio too much, they might disrupt productivity or they might erode the culture. Given CoStar's sort of lens into market data, unrivaled, what hot take or insight can you offer to help those leaders, those CRE leaders, with their sort of finger on the lease renewal decision, to help them navigate the uncertainty of the moment and make, more informed decisions that, balance the cost savings versus, culture or future proofing of their portfolio for possible recovery and attendance? What's the hot take you might offer up on that front?
Yeah, so I mean, what I would say is, if you think back to that trend that we used to call densification, a term doesn't make sense anymore, because offices don't necessarily feel dense. But we used to call densification meaning we were occupying less space per worker. And that was a trend that was consistent throughout the 2010s. And then it was de facto accelerated when, a lot of companies did and have trimmed their footprints in the last 4 years. So you asked for a hot take. Here it is. I think this behavior we're seeing in the leasing market now actually has more to do with that trend than it does with hybrid per se. Now, that's not to say that what we're seeing with changing workplace arrangements is not a crucial factor, because it clearly is the crucial factor. But what seems to be happening is, if you had asked a workplace consultant or architect in 2018 to come look at your space and evaluate it and your efficiency, whatnot, they would have told you, I can save you conservatively 15 to 20% and aggressively 40%. Right. And that was before everyone was paying attention to, attendance, utilization, what have you. Well, now everyone's paying attention to that, right? And so those tech companies that were growing 20% a year in 2017 and took on 10 floors in a trophy tower in San Francisco, filled 7 of them and said, we're going to grow into these other 3. By the way, those were the most expensive rates ever, right? Certainly on an effective basis. Well, guess where a lot of that space is now? It's in that sublease figure. So I think the reality is that a lot of organizations were inefficient with their space use before 2020. And now, when the leases come up for space that they haven't been using, certainly not fully, then yeah, they're going to cut it back. They're going to give up buildings and consolidate. They're going to reduce from 7 floors to 5. What seems to be happening is smaller companies are, rather than renewing like they maybe traditionally would have, they're picking up and moving to a nicer building, and they may take the same or even slightly more space, but it's not really a positive occupancy event for the market. It's kind of a normal or even negative, certainly for the one they left.